I actually really like this lineup, this color palette. Guys, you're gonna be so proud of me, but still haven't lost my chapstick. Do you hear the cat outside? It's like, girl. Hi, hello. Welcome back to my witch obsession. And in today's pick a card, pick a deck reading, we will be asking the question, what are you doing really well right now? Now, I feel like a whole bunch of things kind of fueled this reading. I love doing a reading like this every once in a while, as frequently as I can without it being like annoying, because I was thinking last night, I was like, oh, how am I going to do tomorrow's reading? What question am I going to do? Because none of the ideas that I had were like vibing, none of them were like clicking with me. And so I kind of got nervous about it, but then I was like, what are we doing really well right now? Because I feel like as of late, it's been really stressful and kind of hectic. I'll tell you about it in the ramble and stuff like that. But I just wanted to do kind of like a pat on the back vibes reading, just because I feel like we could all use a pick me up right now. So we have 4 piles today. We have pile 1 with the Lifeline Tarot. We have pile 2 with the 5-cent Tarot. Pile 3 with the Tinseltown Tarot. And pile 4 with the Beauty Tarot. So, as always, if you've chosen your pile already, timestamps are in the description box below, along with everything else. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like a personal reading, I do offer those in my Etsy shop, which is down below in the description box as well. Oh my gosh. But yeah, that's all I have for you. And if you'd like to sit and listen to me ramble for an extra minute or 2 or 3 or however many I feel like doing, then hi. Oh my gosh, you guys. So I just got off the phone with my dad, like literally right before I started filming this. And, I feel like as of late, I've really been going through it. Or I feel like lately I've been feeling very stagnant. And by the way, guys, I didn't know that stagnant was spelled Stagnate. I thought it was like Stagnant. So the more you know. But I've been feeling really stuck lately. I've been feeling kind of down in the dumps and a little bit sad, honestly. And I don't want to say that in like, oh my gosh, like he's sad, like and stuff like that. But more so in a way that like I'm acknowledging it and I'm allowing it to just kind of pass me by, if you know what I mean. Because I got really emotional these past few days because I was like, I'm really grateful that I can just sit here and process my feelings. Like, I feel like I've healed enough to a point where I can show myself a lot more compassion when I really need it. And I feel like I'm starting to let go of things that have happened to me in the past few months. And if you keep up with me, then you know what I'm talking about. But it's really liberating because, like, I'm finally understanding that things are coming to a close now and things have come to a close and that it's not the same, and I was saying this in the last video too, but I just feel so grateful that like I can process these feelings. I feel grateful that I have a bed to sleep in. I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for just a lot of things right now. I'm grateful for my jewelry. I'm grateful for everything. And in a way that's like I can actually feel the gratitude. You know what I mean? I was talking about this on my Ramble channel. By the way, I have a Ramble channel if you like hanging out with me. It's in the description box too. Everything's down there. But I was like, I feel like gratitude and like being grateful are kind of like a little bit different in a way because like being grateful versus feeling the being grateful, like feeling the gratitude is like a whole different story, Like I feel like you can be grateful for everything in your life. Like I can say I'm grateful for everything that I have, but like feeling it is a whole other ballpark, And I feel like as of late, I've truly felt it. I've truly felt grateful for the things in my life. And I just like, I was thinking about it and I realized, like things are always going to be happening. Things are always going to be like this. And I just feel like maybe one day, like I'll feel something, different or things will start changing. But I know that like right now, it's just a matter of letting feelings pass me and allowing myself to slow down, especially because we're oncoming to retrograde season, especially like the end of July. And honestly, I feel ready. I for once feel really prepared for retrograde season because I remember last year I handled retrograde season so poorly because I wasn't as invested into astrology. I feel like I've gotten exponentially more invested and interested in astrology this past year. I've always been interested in it, you know, I've always been learning about it, but I feel like this past year is when I really like dove like headfirst into it, you know? But last year's retrograde season around September, I'm sure you all know if you keep up with me once again, but like it was so bad, you guys. Oh my gosh, that was horrendous. But I feel like I'm finally starting to let that era of my life go. I'm finally allowing it to be the past, you know, and I'm starting to absorb the good memories, good times, and like wow, like, and I've been looking at it for what it is, you know, and I'm like wow, like, you know, even during the bad times, like the little good things that happen are really what make it worth it and really are what you remember. So with that being said, I've just been feeling really determined to overcome the hardships and really enjoy life as much as I possibly can, especially because I'm only young ones. You got like I'm a little bit alarmed because a lot of my audience is older than me. I'm only 20, but I did a reading for somebody the other day and they were like twice my age and I was like, it is such like I feel like the one in the room that's like, oh, you're so young, you know, like, oh my gosh. But you know, I don't like to come off as like a know-it-all, or I don't want people to think that I'm like an old soul or something like that, you know. I feel like I'm still young and dumb in the ways that count. I just don't like portray that, you know, like if y'all knew the decisions that I made in this life, girl, we just can't get into it right now. But like, you know, I've been feeling I've been finding a lot of solace in knowing that the good memories are the ones that will be the ones that will preserve themselves and pop out in the future, if you know what I mean. And the bad memories will subside as you process them. And in that sense, are they really that bad, you know? And I just feel so grateful that like my relationship with my parents has been better, like my relationships as a whole have really stabilized because I've gotten rid of the people that were giving me bad energy. And yeah, I feel really grateful. I feel happy. I feel a lot more stable than I used to be. And honestly, that's really all that I can ask for. But, you know, like, not to say that, like, I'm not going to aim for more. Like, there's still things that I want changing. There's still more things that I want. But also, that's not to say that I'm not going to enjoy what's right in front of me. But I'm also feeling really... the reason I've been feeling kind of sad or like kind of down lately is because I've been feeling kind of lonely, and I've been feeling kind of like dysregulated in a way because it feels like I'm in this weird purgatory, but at the same time it's kind of just offset by the fact that I know it's gonna pass me, so I'm just kind of like happy sad, you know what I mean? I don't know, it's kind of awkward to explain it, but if we're going to talk on a lighter note, I want more jewelry, I want more tarot decks. I literally... It's so funny because like every time I get new stuff, it's like, oh wow, that's checked off the list. You know, I literally have this whole notes app in my phone dedicated to jewelry pieces that I want, and I buy one and then I add 3 to the list. So it's like, it's just so crazy. I'm like, girl, I'm getting nowhere with this, but at the same time, I am getting somewhere because I have more jewelry. So yeah. I think that's all I have for today's ramble. Like I said, if you like listening to me ramble, I do have a ramble channel, which is in the description box. So, you know, if you like hanging out with me, see you there. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening. I love you. See you at your reading. Hello, pile 1. If you chose the Lifeline Tarot, this is going to be your reading for what are you doing really well right now. But before we get into the tarot, I do have some oracle cards today. But yeah, we're just gonna hop straight into it. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so over summer. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just not a summer person. I prefer spring. I prefer late winter. I don't know, because like winter is like an emotionally terrible time, but like weather-wise, it's pretty nice. I don't know. Anyways, what is pile 1 doing really well right now? What is pile 1 doing really well right now? Okay. We have ripe fruits, and we have cornucopia, and then, okay, And then I have another oracle deck I wanted to use. That's why I left this space in the middle. But before anything, like, I'm just noticing how there's like a trend with fruits here, you know, like both of these cards have to do with options, have to do with, you know, like having opportunities. And I feel like one thing that you're doing really well right now is kind of like, I'm feeling not being like overly enthusiastic about the first opportunity that like jumps at you, you know? It gives me this vibe of like there's plenty of options on the table, but at the same time it's not like you're gonna take something just because, you know? Like you're being very discerning and you're being very good with your judgment right now. And I feel like you're not really understanding like how good that is, because you're essentially seeing your worth, you know? You're essentially understanding what it is that you want, you know? I feel like I definitely do think that you guys are working very hard right now to create these opportunities and to kind of open these doors. And obviously that's commendable all on its own. But on top of that, it's just, you're not really settling for anything just because, you know, like, oh, like, yeah, I may have invested time into this, but like, if it's not the way that I want it to be, I'm not opposed to starting over, or I'm not opposed to, you know, trying again or something like that. Like, I'm just sensing like this patience from you guys and kind of this sense of like working towards what it is that you want, but not allowing the results to be anything less than what you want it to be, you know? And I feel like you guys are being very finicky about it, but like in a good way, you know? And I just feel like you're not really giving yourself enough credit for it, you know? Because a lot of people, like, this is like a like random example, but you know, like people build something, like they'll build a piece of furniture and they'll like mess it up. My right ear just started ringing really loud. But you know, somebody builds a piece of furniture and maybe they built it wrong, or they like built something, like they put on something wrong and they're like, oh, it's not that noticeable, you know, like we'll just deal with it, you know, like, but in your case, it's this sense of like, no, it's not right. I don't care if anyone notices it or not. It's about me, not them. And so you will take it apart bit by bit and restart all over again, you know? Or if outright, if the furniture piece is not the way you want it to be, then you'll probably just like get rid of the piece as a whole, you know? It's just, I feel like you guys are not settling right now, and I feel like you guys know that there are options on the table, and as a result, you're not going to just take something just cause, you know? And I feel like obviously that's kind of specific, but I think that it can really be applied in whichever way that you deem it relevant. But I just think that the theme here right now is that like you're not settling right now, and that you're working really hard towards your goals, and that you really have a vision in mind, and if something doesn't meet that vision, you're just like not going to accept it, you know? And I feel like you're not giving enough credit to yourself, because like I feel like there are times where you get frustrated, or I feel like there are times where you're kind of annoyed by it, you know, like, oh, no one understands, you know, or like no one gets it, you know? But it's like, I feel like that's a good thing, because it's just like you're not like the rest, you know, you're not trying to be like the rest, you know, you're really embracing yourself and your own standards. So I feel like that in its own is a really good thing, and I don't think that you're recognizing that either, you know? It's like, yeah, having high standards can sometimes be exhausting, but at the same time, it's still a part of you, and it's still a judge of, like a good judge of character. I don't know how to explain it. It's like a sign of good character, you know, because you aren't going to settle. You aren't going to just like be miserable or something, you know? What else is pile 1 doing really well? Oh wow, that one just flew out. Okay, we got Ritual with Sweet Corn and the number 10. You could be a Leo, because we do have Leo here. Or there could be relevant placements within the sun sign. But, you know, I just feel like the Ritual card really does go to show, like, it goes back to the fact that you're probably working very hard right now, and you've probably been really good about developing a routine, you know, and kind of working towards your goals in a very, like the word tenacious keeps popping up in my mind, or like a lot of patience, you know. I wouldn't be surprised if you also have Earth placements, so you could be an Earth, Sun, or even Moon or Rising. Just something about the big three and Earth and Fire is just like this passion for something and this strong desire to see something out a specific way, and taking the long road in order to ensure that it turns out correctly. And honestly, like, I just feel like there's just something about you that gives me the sense that like you're not really appreciating yourself enough, or you're kind of like, how do I say, like it seems as if though like you're kind of like beating yourself up over your own high standards, and maybe not beating yourself up, or like, oh, like this isn't the way I want it, like of course it isn't, and stuff like that, like just little ways that seems as if though like you're not really appreciating that you have high standards and that you have like a desire to live a little bit more luxuriously, a little bit more, like you want a more finer life, if you know what I mean. And I feel like it's just like at times you're like, oh, I just can't settle, like I'm sorry, I can't do it, it's just I don't know how to explain it. It's not like you're actively like, like dogging on yourself for having high standards, but it's just like you're not really appreciating the fact that your standards are higher than other people's, and that you really do have the capacity to work for them, You just don't see that very often, You don't really see people that embody both of those, of wanting to live a little bit of a nicer life, but also willing to put in the work for that nicer life. It's always like someone embodies one or the other, not both. So it's like, I feel like you could be giving yourself a lot more credit for the fact that you are embodying both of those energies right now, because not a lot of people are on that right now, Anyways, let's get into the tarot. You could also be a Libra or like a Taurus. I just feel like Venus is relevant here. So you could also have like an earthy Venus. So you could have a Capricorn, Virgo, or Taurus Venus. I feel like all the earth Venus signs, maybe even a fire Venus, but I just feel like all those Venus signs like really don't settle, and that once they have like a vision on something, like they really aren't going to stop at anything. All right. What is pile 1 doing really well right now? What is pile 1 doing really well right now? It is so hot in my room, you guys. I can't. I want summer to be over. We have the moon. We have temperance. And then we have the emperor. Wow, so we have all major arcana so far. And then we have justice on the bottom of the deck. Yeah. We have Libra, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Aries here. So you could have those in your big 3 or like your Venus sign. But Cancer is also relevant because we do have the moon. But, I just feel like the moon card followed by the temperance and emperor really goes to show that like, the moon card is about like our subconscious fears and, anxiety. And I always think of it as like random inconveniences too, just because it's the sense of like, the moon illuminates things in our life. Like think of a full moon. It's about illumination. It's about shining light on things that beforehand were not seen. So it makes me think that like as things are revealed in your life, or as things come up to the surface, I feel like you're not being very reactive about it. I feel like you're being a huge problem solver in your life right now, and I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit for it. It's just the picture being painted here is very vivid, because like with the moon card followed by temperance and emperor, it shows that like as things get revealed in your life and as issues kind of come up to the surface, you are dealing with them as they come and go, and kind of dealing with them and not being reactive and doing essentially what's right. And I feel like there are times where you feel like you're not getting what you deserve, or you feel like others are not getting what they deserve. And maybe it's this sense of like you feel as if though like you're doing something for the sake of nothing, or you feel like the work you're putting in is going to waste. But it's just like, do understand that that deep down these things will pay off in so many different ways moving forward. It's just, it requires a little bit more time, and that. I feel like there are times where you get really frustrated because like what the vibe is, and what like the situation is. I feel like your intuition is very strong, especially if the placements that I have said in like regards to astrology have resonated. I just feel like even if they don't, it's just that energy being here really shows me that you're an intuitive person, and that you're a very intelligent person, and you really know exactly what's going on, but I just feel like there are times where you just get frustrated because you know what's going on and you feel as if though like you're losing touch with reality or you're losing touch with what's going on, you know? It's just like sometimes you feel as if though the inconveniences and the mishaps that kind of pop up out of nowhere that need to be ironed out, you feel as if though it's just like, girl, really? And I feel like it's been a slow start for you because honestly, like at the beginning of this reading, like I really did kind of like the energy was a little bit confusing, you know, or it was a little bit like harder to read. But as I've kind of gotten into this reading and as more context has been provided, it feels a lot more fluid now. So I just feel like that applies to your real life situation in the sense that right now, if things are confusing or if it feels as if though random things are popping out of nowhere, just know that your good character is going to pay off and that your high standards and aversion for settling is going to pay off. But right now, it just seems as if though like there are things that need to be brought up to the surface, or it seems as if though maybe even for some of you like things from the past have been brought up, or things that you didn't really know would ever come up again have been brought up. And maybe for some of you, you even feel like you're relapsing or you feel like you're going backwards. And first of all, you know that's not what's going on. I just feel like you're mature enough to know like that's not how it is, you know? But rather it's just in order to kind of move on from these things completely, you do have to process the feelings and feel them. And because of that, it may feel like you're relapsing and going back. And I just feel like that in itself is also very like applause worthy because it's just you understand that the way you used to live beforehand, or you understand that your life back then is not idealistic for you anymore, or it's not suitable for you anymore. And I just feel like that's like a very mature outtake or like mature take, because you don't really understand that like you're very much understanding that it's important to move along with your life and that living in the past no longer serves you, you know? Especially with the Pisces energy here. I just feel like Pisces energy can get very attached to the past or even the future, you know? And just like completely detached from the present. And I just feel like if that energy is here, it's just really showing me that you are letting that go and that you are releasing the mindset that the past is safer or that the future is safer, you know? Or that the present is somewhere that you cannot be. And I feel like you're not giving yourself enough credit for that. And also, I think that you're doing an amazing job of kind of taking control of these things, you know? Because it's like, despite the fact that maybe you're anxious about these things, or despite the fact that maybe things are making you very nervous right now, I'm feeling like you are moving forward instead, you know, like you're trudging forward, even though there are moments where you kind of have like a flicker of doubt, or you feel as if though like, you're like, okay, if I am relapsing, like, we're gonna work through this, you know? I just feel like you're really pushing through, you know? And I feel like despite the fact that there are things that may be holding you back, you're still doing what you feel is right, and you're doing things with so many other things in mind, you know? And what I mean by that is just like, you're not really thinking, you know, you're not really tunnel visioning. There we go. It's just like you understand that like your decisions are going to snowball into something bigger later on. And just understand that all the good things that you're doing right now and all the hard work that you're putting in right now and your lack of settling is going to pay off. And I feel like maybe at times you forget about that. But at the same time, even if you forget about it, you still don't settle, you know? So it's just like, it really goes to show that you've practiced a lot of self-love and that you've practiced a lot of your high standards and you've upped your standards at the same time, you know? Especially after like a past of probably settling or dealing with not as ideal situations, or being put in situations where you aren't appreciated nearly enough, or being put in like a situation where everything is not meeting your standards, and instead of like going somewhere else where things do meet your standards, you're just like sitting there, you know, and like dealing with it, you know. It's just like now you're understanding like, hey, like this isn't what I want, so I'm just gonna either A, like fix it, or B, I'm just outright not gonna deal with it. We also have the Knight of Swords, and then we have the Nine of Pentacles. Oh my gosh. I do think that this is also, like, from a materialistic standpoint, not in a bad way, but especially if we have all the earth energies that I was talking about here, I do think that this could be related to your career, or this could somehow be related to, like, anything in the 3D realm. So, like, maybe your home, maybe your job, anything like that, you know? And I just feel like you've really taken control of that in your life, despite the fact that maybe there are things coming up to the surface that would prohibit you from kind of getting what you want. You're still pushing against it, you know, you're going against the pressure, and you're very much like going against, it makes me think of the Hierophant in reverse, you know, just kind of going against the norm and kind of going against what has been laid out. You know, you're like, no, I'm going to have it my way. Either that or it's like the highway, you know, my way or the highway. And I love that the Nine of Pentacles is the last card that we pulled, because it really like once again shows that this is where you're heading, you know. You're heading towards a life of, or like a state of being to where you embody everything that you want, and that everything that you want is kind of like, you know, you've grown your own garden, and now you'll be picking the fruits from your own garden, you know, harvesting your own flowers, you know. And I feel like with the Knight of Swords, it's just like this impulsive energy of like, no, this isn't what I want, so I'm not going to sit here and think about it twice, or like compromise, or like, oh, like maybe you're like, no, if this isn't what I want, then I'm out, you know, or I'm just going to change it, you know. I think I'm just going to sum up your reading, pile one, by saying that I feel like you're doing a really good job of dealing with the things that are coming to the surface, and dealing with a lot of problems that may be arising right now, especially in regards to your past, and in regards to situations regarding work, you know, home life, living conditions, you know, living situation, and just the overall quality of your 3D life, you know. I feel like you've done a very good job of not settling with that, you know. And you're also doing a really good job of maintaining your rituals, maintaining your routines and things of that nature, and really cultivating all the good things that you are looking for in this life, and really balancing it out. I feel like Temperance card really goes to show that like you're practicing so much balance in your life right now, and you're practicing a lot of self-love. I feel like self-love is definitely the biggest thing here. I feel like above all else, you've really been taking care of yourself, and you have been a lot nicer to yourself. And this is especially coming from the fact that back then maybe you were a little bit too hard on yourself, or you were not as nice to yourself, you know? Especially if you were putting yourself in scenarios where you weren't appreciated, or things weren't meeting your standards, you know. You're just not embodying that anymore, and you're just kind of moving forward, and you're like, okay, I'm leaving all of this behind. And I feel like when it comes back up to the surface, you do your best to work through it, and I feel like you're not giving yourself enough credit for it. And at times you probably feel like you are working so hard for so little reward, but just know, like, you and I both know that like the rewards are coming, but right now it's just a matter of patience. And I feel like you are really representing that patience, and you're doing an amazing job of doing so. So yeah, that's all I have for you, pile one. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the reading resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like a personal reading, I do offer those in my Etsy shop, which is linked down below in the description box. Other than that, thank you so much for watching again. I love you. Bye. Hello, pile 2. If you chose the 5-cent tarot, this is going to be your reading for what are you doing really well right now. Now, before we get into the tarot, I do have some oracle cards today, so let's just hop right into it. And oh my gosh, pile 2. I've been trying to kick a caffeine addiction, so my head has been hurting these past few days, but like today's like not as bad as it usually would be, so I think it's slowly going away. I still be getting Starbucks, but like I just been cutting back on the caffeine consumption, unless it's like I'm going out with like friends or something. But yeah, just like wanted to let you know, I don't know, what is pile 2 doing really well right now? What is pile 2 doing really well right now? Okay, for your cards we have repopulation, and on the bottom of the deck we have the lonely journey of the priestess. And also, I don't know why, but I feel very called to mention this, but like the deck being purple is just like, it reminds me of the third eye chakra, or the crown chakra, the purple one that's like on top of your head. And that makes me just like, I feel like that's super relevant to these two cards, because it just gives me this vibe that your wisdom right now is very unmatched, because I feel like you have dealt with life in a very philosophy-oriented way. I sense a lot of Sagittarius vibes here. It doesn't matter if you have Sagittarius placements or not, but you know, I just like naming them. But basically what I'm trying to say here is it seems as if though like you have this kind of unwavering optimism and belief that things are going to work out in your favor. And I feel like with the repopulation card, it gives me this sense that like you guys have really gone through it. I think that all the piles today will have gone through everything. I think that we've all gone through something collectively. But I feel like for you guys, it seems as if though you really dug into resources and you really like gave up a lot of things, you know. It makes me think of someone that has like this is just a metaphor whether or not you've actually gone through it, but you know, it makes me think of someone that's exhausted all of their savings, you know, and did like threw in the towel or put in everything that they could to get what they wanted, you know. It makes me think of like those TikToks where people are like, yeah, like we dug into our savings but we did get the keys to our apartment, and it just like shows them like just like on an air mattress, like eating on like a piece of paper towel, you know? And basically what I'm trying to say with this analogy here is that it gives me this vibe that like you've really given it your all to kind of cultivate a lifestyle that like fits you, you know? It makes me think of like, I don't know, like I just feel like there's so many analogies and I feel like they do a way better job of describing the situation. Because another one just came up, like I saw another video where this girl was like, when you lived in a chaotic household all your life but now you live alone in your 20s, and she was just like playing Minecraft peacefully. It just makes me think that with the repopulation card, you're safe now, you know what I mean? Or like you've gotten to a better space, you know, or like you're in a better state of being, whether or not you actually feel like it. But I think it's pretty safe to say that I think that you guys have really gone through a lot, but I feel like you're still going through it. You have gotten onto steadier ground to kind of deal with the situations that are coming towards you. And especially with the repopulation card, it just really seems as if though like you've overcome a lot of adversity, and right now you're in the midst of recultivating things, you know, and growing things back into your life. You know, I just like, especially with the lonely journey of the priestess, it seems as if though like you've done a lot of this alone. I feel like you guys have suffered a lot in silence. I feel like I almost wonder if a part of you did this intentionally just because you wanted to really relish your victory, knowing that you did it all by yourself. And I just feel like that's commendable, the fact that you actually went out and did it, you know? It's just like, I feel like a lot of people that like preach independence and stuff like that don't end up actually being as independent as you assume them to be. Or, you know, I just feel like, I don't know, like I just feel like independence is like a very like vast subject. But it really seems as if though like you've had no influence in terms of your inner journey and you getting through what you're going through, you know? Especially like, I feel called to mention this, but I noticed that in the priestess card right here, or like this card, this figure has a fire in it. So fire energy could be relevant here. Like I said, Sagittarius, but you could also be an Aries and or Leo. I'm going to pull some more oracle cards here. What else is... Wow. I just dropped the whole freaking deck, gang. Anyways. What is pile 2 doing really well? What is pile 2? Oh, that one just fell out. Yeah, okay. We have number 24 with agreement with the strawberry. I really feel like with the agreement card, it really seems as if though like, I feel like agreement is an interesting word to kind of use in this context here. But it seems as if though like, when I think of agreement, I think of things kind of falling into place. I think of everything kind of flowing smoothly. Oh, we also have Libra energy here, so that could be relevant. But, you know, I just feel like you've really managed to keep the peace. And I think that in regards to what I was talking about in the beginning of the reading of you kind of escaping a situation, or not even escaping a situation, but it doesn't really matter where you're coming from. What matters is where you are now. And I feel like you're just doing a really good job of kind of like biting your tongue when you need to, you know? I really feel like you guys have chosen peace, and I really feel like you guys are really done with arguing with people, and I feel like you guys are done with conflict, and, you know, like, toxicity and negative relationships, and I feel like you guys have worked very hard to kind of steer clear of them. You know, I feel like you guys have really just kind of stayed away from conflict as a whole, and not in a way that's like, oh, like you're avoiding addressing something, but more so like you're staying clear of the subject as a whole, you know, like you are not dealing with it anymore. I feel like you guys have dealt with a lot of chaos up until this point, and I think that right now, like, you're just so focused on everything falling into place and everything kind of moving very smoothly in your life, so much so to a point that you guys just are not interested in getting into a situation where you feel as if though like something bad could happen out of it, or you feel like something negative could happen, because I feel like you guys have a really good intuition with those things. I feel like you guys are very sensitive to conflict and when feeling like things are out of balance, and I feel like you're not really understanding like what a great job you're doing of it. I think that whether or not you do, it's just like the point is that you're doing a really good job of kind of just like recalibrating yourself and bringing abundance back into your life, and kind of like doing things slowly but surely, you know? It's kind of like one of those things where there's clearly a long ways to go, but you're like, all right, well, no one's going to do it for me. It's not going to do it by itself. And I feel like this really mature mindset is something that you're doing an amazing job of practicing. Let's get into the tarot here. It is so hot in my room, you guys. I need it to be winter again, or spring. All right. I feel like with the repopulation card and the whole thing about the wisdom I was talking about at the beginning, I also feel like you've really learned your lesson. I think that you're the kind of person that doesn't make the same mistake twice. And I feel as if though, like, I think that you've really done a great job of applying the lessons the universe has put you through. And I just feel like it seems as if though, like, that's one part of why this process is becoming smoother and smoother, and that's definitely the ultimate reason as to why you're doing so well right now. Or even if you don't feel like it, like, you're doing a lot better than you think you are, and it's definitely because you've learned your lesson, and it's because that it's one of those situations where it usually only takes one time, but if it takes two, like, you're definitely not making that same mistake again, you know? And it's just like, you're not really giving yourself enough credit for it, you know, because a lot of people make the same mistakes like more than 3 times, you know, and sometimes it's to a point where it's a conscious thing, you know. What is pile 2 doing really well? What is pile 2 doing really well right now? What is pile 2 doing really well? Okay, for your cards, we have the Star. We have 8 of Cups. Yeah, 8 of Cups is really important here. And Temperance. Temperance came out in pile 1, 2. I wouldn't be surprised if you have watched both piles, but, you know, you don't have to, but if you want to, you know, like, I'm not going to stop you. You're grown. And we have 2 of Cups. So yeah, I really feel like this has to do with relationships. I'm not gonna lie here, pile 2. It doesn't really matter, like I said, where you're coming from, but I do want to say that the extra context could be valuable to some of you. But it just feels like with the 2 cups being here and the 8 of cups, I really do feel like you have severed a relationship in your life, or you have made it a point to establish boundaries in your relationships, or to kind of enforce your personal space within relationships, because I feel like you guys are very giving people. I feel like you guys are very susceptible to being exploited, or you guys are loyal to a fault, you know? And I think that there's been a lot of situations where toxic people back in the day used to walk you like a dog, you know? But I feel like with the Star card and Temperance, you're working really hard to heal those parts of yourself. And I feel like you're doing an amazing job of it, you know? Once again, with the whole, it really doesn't take more than 2 times in order for you to learn your lesson. No matter how long those lessons may have lasted. And it's just like right now, like, you're in the midst of literally pulling yourself out of a very dark place. I think that you very much see the end of the tunnel by now, the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. And I think that this energy seems to be the energy that's kind of getting left behind. But I think that you're feeling excuse me, I think that you're feeling the residual effects at the moment. Especially at the time of filming this, we have a lot of transits in astrology in regards to things coming back up in the past, you know? Especially with this Libra energy here. You could be any cardinal sign, so Capricorn, Libra, Aries, or Cancer. You could have those within your chart, especially maybe in your Saturn or just kind of like amongst your personal planets. But I'm sensing big three and Saturn is very relevant here, just because it seems as if though like maybe things from the past have come up, because I feel like the Eight of Cups can kind of be like a double whammy here, in the sense that it could be a signifier of you leaving things behind, but it could also be that things that you have left behind have come up to the surface, and it's just kind of this matter of dealing with it appropriately, you know? But once again, like, I just feel like that message is a sense of like, there were corners to get and not a signifier that you have not learned your lesson, you know? I just feel like maybe if you feel like you have unfinished business, that is something that you are in the midst of taking care of. And if that doesn't resonate with you, I just feel like it's, once again, just a sense of like you're leaving things behind and you're healing, you know? I feel like the star card always like talks about, like in my readings at least, about, you know, like the star, you know, like the North Star, like you follow it in like the movies and stuff, and it's like you know where to go or something like that. But I feel like genuinely in this reading, it seems as if though like you're in the midst of healing and you're in the midst of, you know, gathering hope and re-establishing light in the path that you wanted to take, maybe ever since you were a kid, you know? I feel like you guys are in the midst of achieving a lot of dreams right now, or like chasing dreams, especially in regards to your relationships and maybe other things, you know? But I do think that relationships are a huge goal for you right now. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys are very love-oriented, or you guys really love the idea of love, you know? I feel like you guys are going to be my hopeless romantics in today's video, and I just want to say that like you're doing an amazing job of healing, and you're doing an amazing job of establishing your boundaries and kind of getting a feel for who you are and what you like in relationships, you know? That's why I said like Saturn's relevant here, because we just had Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So obviously this reading is timeless, and maybe at the, like, if you're not watching this while Saturn's retrograding or any of that, like, just know that that's the present energy. So it could be relevant to your case right now, regardless of when you're watching this. But you could also have like a Virgo rising, just because like I feel like Virgo risings, especially as of late, have really been going through it with their relationships and kind of understanding them, since Pisces, you know, is transiting the 7th house. You could also just be a Virgo or a Pisces, you know. Let me pull the last few cards. We also have Queen of Buttons, and we have Nine of Matches. I love the Nine of Matches here, because I really do think that, by the way, the matches is the wands, the buttons is pentacles, if you didn't know. But the matches really tells me that you guys are in the midst of, there's kind of like a final stretch energy, you know? And I feel like it's like, this is like the runner's high kind of moment, you know, where you're kind of exhausted, but you're getting that like extra bit of energy. You know, when, this is so silly, but you know when like in older cars, when the needle hits empty on the gas tank, there's still like an extra few miles left? I feel like that's the kind of energy that you're on right now. It's like you may be tired, you may be very exhausted, and you may have been doing a lot of healing, as I've said, but I think that you have like this hidden reservoir of energy that really pushes you through situations like this. And I feel like you have been alarmingly, just, how do I say, abundant, and maybe not abundant, but I do think that when I say the word abundance, it's just like, it's in reference to this reservoir that I'm talking about. What I'm trying to say here is like, you have an immense power, and you have a lot of persistence, and you're very resilient. There we go. And it's just like, no matter how much things kind of bring you down, or no matter how many things kind of come in your way, it really seems as if though like you're able to pull through, and you're able to come out of it, you know, and really get through something, even when it seems as if though you have no capacity to do so. I think I'm just going to sum up your reading pile too by saying that I think that what you're doing really well right now is that you're doing an amazing job of kind of taking responsibility and taking control over your narrative again, owning your narrative again, if you will, and kind of healing areas of your life that may have not been your fault, you know, but at the same time, you're not really taking it personally anymore. You have a very mature outlook on your healing journey now, and I feel as if though you're in the midst of leaving a lot of things behind, accepting parts of yourself and balancing different parts of yourself back into your life that maybe you kind of shut out of your life for a while because you were like ashamed of it or something of that nature, you know. But like what I'm trying to say here is that you're recultivating yourself and you're bringing parts of yourself out that maybe you just didn't want to bring out for a while, you know, or it's just like there were parts of yourself that you shut away in a portion of your life, you know, that's coming back out again. Like your innocence is coming back, you know, if you know what I mean. And especially in regards to relationships, I think that you have really buckled down in your relationships, defining them more, setting your boundaries more, and really learning how to embrace your personal space and really understanding who needs to be in your life, what you want, and who truly benefits you on your own journey, you know, and kind of understanding that it's not your job to provide for people and it's not your job to guess or read people or anything like that. I really feel like you've been embodying that sense of like, unless you directly state it to me, it's not my problem, you know? And it's just like this agreement vibe you're going for, you know, trying to keep the peace in your life again and trying to get to a state of being, a state of life that is more balanced and more ideal for your health and your well-being in general, you know? And you're just really not giving yourself enough credit for it. And even if you do feel like you are, I just feel like you could be giving yourself a lot more credit, you know? And I feel like you're doing an amazing job of basically bringing back balance into your life in the ways that count. So yeah. That's all I have for you, Pile 2. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the reading resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like a personal reading, I do offer those in my Etsy shop, which is linked down below in the description box. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Again, I love you. Bye. Hello, Pile 3. If you chose the Tinseltown Tarot, this is going to be your reading for what are you doing really well right now. Now, before we get into the tarot, I do have some oracle cards today, so we're going to get right into that. Oh my gosh, Pile 3, I was just watching TikTok and I got sucked into it because these people are too funny. And also, I think it's so, like, abnormal that, like, we'll watch, like, one TikTok and, like, laugh really hard and the next one will make us cry. Like, that fluctuation in emotion is just, like, not normal. I don't know. Anyways. What is Pile 3 doing really well right now? What is Pile 3 doing really well? Oh, this one wanted. We have restlessness. And we have labyrinth. So I feel like this is an interesting combination because restlessness is obviously like restlessness, but then labyrinth suggests sleep. So, I don't know why, but this makes me think of like this weird opposites kind of vibe. So, maybe you have like an opposite sun and moon placement. So, for example, you could be a Sagittarius sun with a Gemini moon, or like Gemini moon with a Gemini sun with like a Sag moon, or like a Aquarius sun with a Leo moon, just something like that, you know? Because I just feel like this full moon energy and this kind of like opposites and friction is very relevant here. It seems as if though with the restlessness and the labyrinth, I feel like what you're doing really well right now is kind of finding this balance within restlessness and, you know, like your sleep, you know? So I just feel like you have really managed your way around all of these problems and situations that kind of force you to be in one extreme or the other. I feel like extremes have been a theme in your life as of late, in the sense that it's either A, maybe you get like no sleep at all, or B, you literally sleep for like 14 hours, you know? And, you know, it doesn't have to be about sleep. That's just the analogy or like the metaphor that's coming to mind simply because of the way these cards are designed. But it could really be anything, you know? And I feel like there seems to be this theme of, in your life right now, you're having to deal with a lot of things that go from 0 to 100 very quickly. I'm going to pull some more oracle cards to kind of see what else is going on here. I don't know. I realized that in all of today's readings so far, not much context comes through until we get to the tarot. So I'm going to try and get to the tarot as quick as possible. What is Pile 3 doing really well? What is pile 3 doing really well? Oh, okay, that one wanted to come out. Okay. We have Wholeness with Black Mulberry, number 33. Interesting, we have number 3 here, 73, 23, and then 33. So number 3 could be very significant here. Also ironic that I mentioned Gemini first when I was talking about those placements because it's the 3rd zodiac sign. But anyways, I just feel like, I think it's interesting how I was talking about we have these extremes here, or it's like it's one side or the other, not like in the middle, but then we pull Wholeness and it's like right in between these cards. Oh, we do have Aquarius energy here. A lot of air energy, so you could be a Libra, Gemini, or Aquarius. But I just feel like there's this underlying theme of the fact that you're finding a lot of wholeness within this chaos that's going on in your life. I feel like you've done a great job of finding solace in your life, pile 3. Oh my gosh, and you guys are pile 3. So many number 3s. But you know, I just feel like you're doing a really good job of finding solace and really taking care of yourself, you know? It makes me think of like you're in the eye of the hurricane, if you know what I mean, especially since we have like this card full of eyes. But yeah, I just feel like, I don't know, like I feel like I drop a lot of blanks here. So I'm just going to get into the tarot because I really want to go ahead and see what's going on. I'm also having trouble thinking a little because it is so hot in this house. It's literally 80 degrees. I need it to be winter again. Okay. What is pile 3 doing really well? What is pile 3 doing really well? What is pile 3 doing really well? Okay. For your cards, we have 3 of Swords. We have the 3 of Wands. So many number 3s. And then we have the Star. I think it's interesting how the Star card always comes out in like a lot of my readings. And on the bottom deck, we have 9 of Cups. If you want to count it, 9 is a multiple of 3. But, you know, I just feel like the 3 of Swords and 3 of Wands together really shows that you're probably overcoming something in your life right now and you're probably healing from something. It could be a relationship. It could be something else. But I just feel like it doesn't really matter what caused the heartbreak. What matters most is that you're overcoming a heartbreak of sorts. And I feel like you're doing so in a very like brick by brick, if you will. I don't know why, but I'm just like thinking of like when like those videos of people that like lay bricks. It's like such a tedious process, but that's why it's so expensive. But you know, with that comes, what I'm trying to say with that is, you know, I feel like you guys are doing a really good job of being patient with your results right now in regards to your healing journey and in regards to you working towards what you want. I feel like with the 9 of Cups being on the bottom of the deck, along with all these number 3s here and the Star card, it seems as if though there's this theme of like you're working towards something that you really want, or this state of being that you really want. It's just like there's something that you're coveting right now and you're working really hard towards it, and maybe you faced a lot of setbacks in regards to this journey, you know? And I almost wonder if you guys are kind of stuck in this purgatory of sorts. I feel like in saying that you're in the eye of the hurricane shows that like maybe you're a little bit frustrated with the lack of movement, or it feels as if though maybe you're a little bit too used to chaos in your life. Once again, with that whole themes of extremes, you know? And I feel like the Star card shows that you're really healing right now, and understand that this purgatory moment is just for you to process all of these feelings. Because just know that I feel like in the midst of all that chaos and you chasing something and going about your life shows that like there is something else that is not being addressed, you know? I feel like once again, like with these themes of like 0 to 100, you know, I feel like it's important for moments like this pile 3 for you to find balance and for you to kind of recalibrate and process things, no matter how painful it may be, no matter how exhausting it may be. in at least in an emotional sense, to have to slow down, you know, but just know that you're doing a really good job, and you're doing an amazing job of really processing your feelings this time around. I'm feeling like with the restlessness card, I wouldn't be surprised if you've gone through this kind of state of being where you have to kind of sit back and let things process first several times. And I feel like each time you dread it more and more, but I feel like each time you're up, it's like weird because like you're so willing to step up to the occasion, and you're so willing to kind of, you know, work on it, you know, and deal with it head on. But I also feel like, you know, it's still very frustrating. But I feel like that's just the ultimate testimony to your maturity and your willingness to kind of deal with problems even when you don't want to, you know. It makes me think of like this whole like, you know, you're just able to get yourself to do things when you know that nobody else is going to do it for you, or you're just good at stepping up to the occasion when it really counts. And I feel like the Nine of Cups, it definitely shows that there is something more involved here. I also see the Five of Wands and the Ten of Wands right after. And I just feel like, you know, like we also have a lot of wands being mentioned here. So I feel like it's all about your passions. It's all about, you know, like feeling something, you know. So in that sense, I almost wonder if you guys are facing a burnout of sorts here. I almost wonder if you guys have been very tired of something, or you have been realizing that this chaotic lifestyle is no longer serving you. And it's like, even if it's not a chaotic lifestyle, it's just like the lifestyle that you have cultivated maybe a while ago is no longer serving you. And I feel like right now is a moment of change, and right now is a moment of realizing that things are no longer working the way that you want them to. And I feel like you're coming to this realization, probably why you're experiencing a lot of volatile emotions and heartbreaks, possibly because it's just kind of like another moment of feeling like maybe you thought you had something, you know. It's just pile 3. I don't know if you need to hear this now, but I'm just gonna say anyways, don't feel as if though like you were on the wrong track, or don't feel as if though like you did something wrong, you know, or don't feel as if though like it wasn't meant to be. It's not that. It's just that you've run your course of it, and that you have outgrown it, you know. There's nothing wrong with outgrowing things. In fact, it's better to outgrow things, because wouldn't it just be a little silly to stay in the same place or in the same situation or same routine for years on end, you know? That's just so unrealistic, and that's not what our brains and bodies are designed for, you know? So just take it from me, understand that you don't have to constantly be, like, there's no perfect routine. There's no sort of routine or way of doing things that has true, like, extended longevity, because the reality is, especially for someone like you, you're always changing, you're always growing, because you're always doing work on yourselves, because you never settle with yourself, which is another thing that you're doing really well. And with that being said, it's just when you're always growing, you're always going to outgrow things, and things are always going to run stale in your life, you know. And it's not anything bad, you know. It's not that the routine was bad, it's not that you are bad yourself, you know. It's just that, like, it's just no longer serving you, you know. And I know, like, I feel like I'm over explaining it, but I'm really just trying to get across to you the fact that, like, you don't have to feel guilty, or you don't have to feel bad when things run their course, because the reality of it is that, like, I don't think that anyone, including you at a deeper subconscious level, would truly want you to be stuck in a sort of routine for way too long, you know, because you weren't going to stay there forever, you know. It's like when you live in an apartment, you know, and, you know, it's just, you're not going to live there forever. There's a certain point where you will outgrow the place. People outgrow houses, people outgrow jobs, people outgrow everything, you know. There's a time and place where we need to just move on and let something go, even though we are attached to it, and even though maybe at some time it was something that only we could have seen in our wildest dreams. But, you know, we're always changing, we're always growing, and sometimes we just outgrow things, you know? And the things that are meant to stay will simply stay. And just know that. But I feel like in saying that, I think that you have accepted that to some degree. I'm feeling like this message is more a validation and confirmation for you, because I feel like this is something that you've been feeling for a while now, and it's been something that has probably been really stressing you out or making you feel some sort of way, just because, like, you feel like you're alone in it. Just know that, first of all, you aren't alone. Second of all, you're doing an amazing job of coping with it and dealing with it. I'm feeling like maybe in the past you wouldn't have dealt with it as well as you are now. So give yourself a lot of props for knowing that you have grown and that you have changed and that you have moved away from a more inflexible and unstable, unhealthy way of dealing with problems and dealing with change in your life. So I feel like that's another thing that you should give yourself a round of applause for. And finally, we have the Empress. Oh my gosh. And we have the High Priestess. I definitely do think that the High Priestess is an important card here, especially since we pulled it last. But I feel like it's the card that really shows that like a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about in this reading is probably stuff that you knew for a while now, or maybe you could even sense something like this coming forward before it actually happened. And I almost wonder if that's what kind of fuels the restlessness card. It seems as if though like you've been kind of caught at a crossroads right now. I feel like this Five of Wands energy that we saw just earlier is really important, because I think that it goes to show like, yeah, you're probably dealing with a lot of chaos right now, and you're dealing with a lot of internal issues. And when I say issues, I don't mean like, oh, like you have problems or something like that, but more so in like I said, this is just another moment of change and growth, and time for you to leave something behind because it no longer serves you. So just know that anytime I use a word that will seemingly have a negative connotation, I'm using it in the sense that like it's just no longer serving you, I just want to get that out of the way because I don't want you to feel like I'm saying something with like a bad vibe, But I love that we have the Empress and the High Priestess here, because I feel like there's definitely something else that you feel in the long run. And what I mean by that is I just feel like it shows that you know what you're working towards, you know what your wishes are, and I feel like you have your mind set on something. I feel like you're starting to establish goals, and I feel like you're working towards something right now in your life. And I'm feeling like maybe the way you were working towards it is no longer like working for you, and I'm feeling like maybe that's where the heartbreak is coming from. It's just change in general. I feel like everything that I'm saying is just trying to like provide context for what this change may be, but I think that the across the board message is that you guys are dealing with change right now. I think I'm just going to sum up your reading to avoid repeating myself over and over. Pile 3, I feel like what you're doing really well right now is understanding that you're in the midst of a lot of changes right now, and that you're in the midst of realizing that some things in your life are no longer working, and it's probably a little bit devastating to you, or a little bit heartbreaking, or it's caused you a lot of pain or a lot of stress, at the very least. And just know that like you're doing an amazing job of coping with it, because you a really long time ago probably wouldn't have been able to cope with it as beautifully and effortlessly as you are right now. And when I say effortlessly, just know that like whether or not you feel like you are quite doing it pretty effortlessly, because it's just like you make it look really easy, Pile 3. And I also feel like with the Three of Wands, the progress that you're making right now is unmatched. And maybe you won't see it right now, but I think that in the future you'll kind of see it a little bit more, and I feel like that's when it'll hit you. And obviously it's all for something that you are wishing for, something that you want, something that you are longing for. Sleep may be significant to some of you guys, or like something about sleeping, something about dreams, something about working towards something about like that Piscean 12th house energy. But yeah, I feel like the only reason I'm cutting your reading a little bit short is just with the High Priestess card. I feel like this is all confirmation for you. I feel like you guys just needed a pick-me-up and a little bit of validation to know that you're on the right track, and things like this just happen naturally. So yeah, that's all I have for you, Pile 3. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the reading resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like a personal reading, I do offer those in my Etsy shop, which is linked down below in the description box below. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I love you. Bye. Hello, Pile 4. If you chose the Beauty Tarot, this is going to be your reading for what are you doing really well at the moment, or, whenever you're watching this. But before we get into the tarot, I do have some oracle cards today. So, yeah. Also, I noticed that I really struggle to say the word oracle. I don't know what it is about that word, but oracle. I don't know, y'all. Tell me if y'all feel the same way, or if I'm just crazy. Anyways, what is Pile 4 doing really well? What are they doing really well? Oh, well, this card wanted to come out. We have Puppet. And then we have Shared Tenderness. I almost said Sweet Tenderness. Oh, and we have Love Grows Love. I feel like that's very important here. guess you'll get an extra one. Oh, another card just flew out. Just by itself. But anyways, I just feel like right off the bat, pile 4, because the puppet card is all about manipulation, like, girl, like, we all know of puppeteers, we all know the vibes. So I just feel like with the puppet card, with the love grows love and share tenderness, I'm feeling like one thing that you guys are doing really well is to not give in to toxic situations, you know, or to kind of manipulate back, you know. I feel like you guys are very intelligent emotionally to understand when you're being manipulated or to understand when somebody around you is being manipulative. And so I feel like as a result, it's like, I feel like there are times where you know how to fight fire with fire. Girl, if you're an emotional person like me, like, we all know the vibe. Like, maybe you're gonna call me crazy for this, but, like, I don't know, I just like speaking my mind. I feel like all, like, emotional people, like, we're all, like, retired gaslighters and manipulator. At least I am, okay? I'm not ashamed to admit that, because we gotta come from somewhere, y'all. But, you know, I just feel like, with that being said, it's just a sense of, like, I feel like you guys have done an amazing job of understanding gaslighting, understanding manipulation, understanding when people are allowing their own problems to kind of project and stuff. And I feel like through all that, you're still choosing to love, and I feel like you guys are still choosing to be nice and essentially be the change that you want to see in this world, honestly. And I'm feeling like you guys have come a long way with it, you know. I also see the Under the Spell card here, and I just feel like all these cards are super important because it shows that I feel like people have really taken advantage of when you care about people, you know. I feel like there are times where people have really exploited your love, really taken advantage of you on so many different levels, and maybe to a degree you allowed it to happen, you know. And I just feel like one thing that you're doing really well right now is just overcoming that, you know, not allowing that to happen. And instead of being bitter about it or resentful about it, even if you are bitter and resentful, you're making it a point to not embrace that and to not allow that to be the main thing that runs your life right now or ever, you know? And I just feel like with the puppet card, maybe at times, like, if it somehow comes out, I just think that you guys take a lot of accountability. And I feel like you guys are so open to improving yourselves, and you're so open to criticism, and you're so open to just, like, allowing yourself to become a better person and allowing yourself, and not in a way that's like you were a bad person before, but more so in a way from, you're not one of those, you're not like one of those hurt people that hurts people. You know what I'm saying, pile 4? Because I just feel like you're no longer taking things personally like that, and you're no longer allowing that to be your narrative, you know? Let's pull one more oracle card because I just want to see what the vibe is. What is pile 4 doing really well? What is pile 4 doing really well? Okay. We have passion with the beetroot, number 7. I think it's ironic that we pulled the number 7 because I just feel like that correlating to, like, 7th house and, like, Libra just really once again goes back to the fact that you're probably doing a really good job of embracing your relationships and embracing the ones that do make you feel good, you know? Oh, and we also have Leo here. So with Leo 7th house, you could be an Aquarius rising or you could be a Leo rising. That's just for some of you, not all of you. But another thing that came through is I feel like you guys are choosing to really embrace relationships that make you feel good, you know? I'm feeling like you guys aren't really you guys aren't making it a point to kind of criticize yourself or take it from, like, a critical level to where you're kind of like, oh, this is what's wrong, this is what needs to be fixed constantly, you know? I feel like you guys are very much understanding of that narrative, and I feel like you guys have set a lot of healthy boundaries in regards to how you approach your own self-love and how you approach your growth, because, you know, as a sensitive person myself, I just feel like maybe you guys will resonate with this, but I just feel like a lot of today's, like, self-help and, like, psychology content, I've ranted about this several times on this channel and my Ramble channel, but I just feel like a lot of it is packaged in a way to constantly make you feel like something's wrong with you or something. And I'm feeling like you guys are the people that very much feel this narrative to some degree as well. And I'm feeling like you guys are taking a different, more positive approach to where you're like, okay, this is what makes me feel good. I'm going to endorse what makes me feel good, as opposed to criticizing myself for my flaws or my mistakes, or paying attention to what doesn't make me feel good, you know? You guys are literally on the verge of mastering law of attraction. Like, I just feel like you guys are really embracing law of attraction and really keeping your eyes on what you want to attract. And I just feel like, girl, like, that is, or legend, or, you know, whatever you identify as, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's just a sense of, like, you really will just embrace everything that's good, you know? And it's just like, that all in its own is a good thing all in its own. You know what I mean? Like, that is literally like the embodiment of, like, how do you not see that that is something that you're doing really well right now? And I feel like this is something that you do very tirelessly. I feel like this is something that you work very, like, you probably exhaust yourself at times working on this part of yourself and cultivating this self-love, you know? And stepping away from your shadow self and stepping away from negative habits and, you know, heartbreaks and anything of that nature, you know? And I'm feeling like there are times where you feel like you don't get enough recognition for it, and this is me giving you said recognition, because you really do not realize how good you are getting at all of this and how comfortable you are getting with your good parts, you know? It just makes me think, like, I just feel like there are times where it isn't even about purging what's bad, but more so embracing what's good, you know? I feel like there are a lot of times where, like, this is just like a very, like, broad example, but I feel like all too often, like, when we're, like, looking for love and stuff, we're always talking about red flags, we're always talking about what we don't want, we're always talking about what's unhealthy and what's not suitable, but not a lot of the times do we really step in to think, hey, like, what is it do I want, you know? Like, I know I don't want someone that, you know, like, someone who doesn't communicate, or someone who doesn't, you know, care, you know, or someone who never, like, pays, or somebody who, you know, like, whatever the case may be, you know, it doesn't matter. But, like, instead of constantly looking at what you don't want, you're instead embracing, okay, like, I want somebody that is honest, you know, someone who cleans can openers, you know, that level of honesty, you know, somebody who pays for me but allows me to pay for them, you know, like, symbiosis vibes, you know. And I just feel like it's just that you've really taken a step back and you've really started looking at parts of your life that you feel as if though, like, need attention from a different perspective, because I feel like the way you were approaching things for a good portion of your life was very critical and embodied a lot of, like, self-criticism and being too hard on yourself, and maybe to a point, like, self-loathing. And I feel like you guys are stepping away from that and taking a healthier, more boundary saturated approach, you know, one that really embraces the good things, like I've been saying. And I just feel like, pile 4, like, you should really understand what an amazing thing that is, because I feel like ultimately you're allowing yourself to become more intimate with yourself and get to know yourself at a deeper level, you know. I think as a collective species, it's pretty easy to deduce what we collectively don't want, but I feel like there are times where it's what we do want that seems to define us individually, or kind of bring uniqueness and color to each of us, you know? And I feel like that is a very debatable topic, but that's just, like, my take, you know? Because, like, who wants someone who doesn't communicate, or who wants to be broke, or who wants to, like, you know, like, live like that, you know? But, like, you know, like, it's about what we do want. At least at a materialistic level, I'm gonna talk, like, say, like, if I have $50 and if you have $50, like, you're not gonna spend it the same way that I will. And, like, even if we do, it's just, like, we'll have different takes on why we want to get what we want to get, you know? I guess what I'm trying to say here is that, like, you've really embraced your uniqueness, you've really embraced your own individuality, and you're finally starting to understand that you are indeed a very special person and somebody who is worth all the love that they want, you know? And maybe if you don't see that right now, like, you're gonna see it pretty soon, and it's gonna be something that is gonna feel so good, because it's literally something that you cultivated all on your own and worked so hard for, you know, through sharing tenderness and showing love for the world and giving nothing but compassion out there, instead of giving into old, outdated habits that maybe you participated in the past, you know, or ones that other people around you were practicing. But I feel like you guys have done such an overhaul in your life and your relationships that it's just like, you really are seeing drastic changes. And maybe you started seeing these a really long time ago because you realized, like, hey, like, this is not how I want to live anymore, you know? Especially with the passion card here. I feel like I'm completely overlooking this card, but it's just like, you're starting to develop a passion for yourself, you know, you're starting to develop a passion for things around you. Maybe you guys have been exploring hobbies, or you've been exploring things that you like, you know, things that you're passionate about, you know. What is pile 4 doing really well? What is pile 4 doing really well? What is pile 4 doing really well? Okay. We have Wheel of Fortune. We have Lovers. We have Queen of Pentacles. And then on the bottom of the deck, we have Seven of Cups. I feel like the Seven of Cups is definitely important here, because I feel like, even though I've said all that I've said, I'm feeling like there is still a little bit of confusion and a little bit of like fear in your life right now. I'm feeling like you guys feel as if though like there are so many things in your life right now that need attention, or you feel as if though like the possibilities that have opened up for you are seemingly endless with this new perspective. And I almost wonder if it's a little bit overwhelming, you know. It's just as overwhelming to have a bunch of bad things be presented. Like, it's just as overwhelming to have good things presented, you know. Like, good and bad things, like at the core there's still change involved, and I feel like that's what we're most like nervous about, or that's what induces so much anxiety within us, you know. And especially with the Queen of Pentacles here, because I feel like with the Queen of Pentacles and the Lovers card, I feel like you guys really do crave stability within your relationships, within yourself. And I feel like you really do crave a sense of stability within the 3D realm, just because I feel like you guys are tired of living like a specific way according to your circumstances. I feel like you guys are tired of constantly having to, you know, be flexible and, you know, like give in to the changes around you, you know. But I'm feeling like you guys are really starting to take control of your life and take the wheel and create a lot of changes all on your own, you know. Especially since the Wheel of Fortune was literally the first card that we pulled. I feel like in your life, above all else, pile 4, the theme is positive changes and, you know, getting your karmic debt back, you know. The karmic debt that you are owed. But I also feel like with the Lovers card, it could be in regards to your relationships. I almost wonder if you guys went through like a breakup of sorts, or you guys have cut a lot of people out of your life recently, because I just feel like you guys have gone through the rakes in terms of your relationships and how you perceive yourself through relationships. Maybe you guys were like serial monogamous, or maybe you guys, like, you know, it doesn't have to be just about relationships. It could, or like romantic ones at least. It could be platonic, it could be familial, it could be romantic, you know. But the point is that I just feel like you are taking a look at the people that you surround yourself with, and you are keeping a close eye on who you choose to associate with, just because I feel like you have dealt with a lot of energy vampires, or people that were emotionally unavailable or couldn't give you or meet your needs, you know. What else do we have here? We also have Hermit and Three of Wands. Yeah, I feel like with the Hermit card, it really does show me that you have probably been a little bit by yourself recently, or you have been a little bit distant from your relationships, or maybe you just outright like overhauled every single one of your relationships. Maybe some of you went like ghost or something, you know. I'm just feeling like you guys have completely changed your life in some way. It doesn't have to be just about relationships, but, you know, like with all the cards here that, you know, suggest relationships and, you know, connections. That's the only reason I'm bringing it up constantly. But it could honestly also just be a relationship with yourself and how you perceive yourself. I'm feeling like that's the most important kind of point of all. Just because I feel like your self-perception has really been askewed by other people, or really, you know, just thrown off in general by circumstances that have occurred. And what I mean by that is, you know, it's just like things have changed in your life, things were presented to you, and maybe at times it gaslit you or confused you and made you question your own worth, you know? And you know what I'm talking about if that resonates. If it doesn't resonate, you know, like don't like force it. But I just feel like with the Hermit card and Three of Wands, you're making a lot of progress by yourself, and you're finally embracing that you don't need anybody but yourself, and I'm feeling like you guys are really showing up for yourself. I think I'm just going to sum up your reading, pile 4, by saying that I just feel like what you're doing really well right now is essentially giving out love to grow more love, you know, and sharing tenderness with yourself and showing a lot of compassion for your inner child, and just every part of yourself that has maybe been hurt in the past, through this kind of journey where you are kind of relearning your passions and recalibrating your life and your perception of love and perception of self-improvement and how you can better nurture yourself and take care of yourself. Because I feel like obviously in the past, like, there were times where you were manipulated or exploited, or you felt as if though the only way for you to be loved is for you to, spread yourself completely thin. But obviously with the Wheel of Fortune, everything is changing right now. And it seems as if though, like, with the flip of a switch, your life is kind of like bulldozing itself. But I feel like this change in these kind of realizations that's kind of occurring right now may be stressing you out, causing you a lot of illusions, or causing you to kind of escape a little bit. But it's just like, understand, Pile 4, that through your dreams and through your escapism, you're really manifesting a new reality for yourself. So make sure to, not be self-destructive, or to, like, go back into a state of self-loathing, or to, feel like anything is impossible. Not saying that a lot of you are embodying that, but it's just like a little bit reminder, to understand that, like, that is what you're getting away from, It's better to trudge the unknown than to go back to a place that was hurtful, despite the fact that it may be familiar, And you know exactly what I'm talking about, especially since we do have the Seven of Cups here. I feel like the Seven of Cups is so that energy. And I'm also feeling like with the Seven of Cups, you're doing a really good job of, like, taking inventory and understanding all of the opportunities that are around you and processing how they all make you feel, especially with the Hermit card here. It just really seems as if though there's a lot of things coming up to the surface right now, and you're doing a good job of healing from them and allowing them to kind of pass you by and remaining very level-headed and making very good decisions right now. You guys are making amazing decisions right now, whether or not you see it. So yeah, that's all I have for you, Pile 4. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the reading resonated, and if it did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like a personal reading, I do offer those in my Etsy shop, which is linked down below in the description box. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Again, I love you. Bye.